Hi everybody, my name is, I guess, Ringotogi back on Reddit. I am the guy who wrote the thread I finally snapped at my player that the YouTuber LootGoblin decided to make a video about 5 years later approximately. Doesn't matter. So in the video, LootGoblin is going over my entire thread, commenting on certain aspects, giving some valid criticism most of the time, skipping some other important parts of the story, and just making wild assumptions. For example, LootGoblin says that my best friend, who was the problem player in this campaign, me and him, we were long overdue for a conversation, but if he had read earlier on, it was stated that we had discussed this with him several times. I just want to clarify, though, that I do agree wholeheartedly that I wasted the entire party's time by punishing one player. I am not going to sugarcoat it. I know that for a fact. I think I even pointed out in the thread that this befalls mostly on me. That being said, it irks me when people who do not know other people decide to comment on what would be in the interest of other people. You don't know how my friend would react. I have known my friend for over 20 years. I've been GMing for over 20 years as well. However, in his defense, he is new to TTRPGs, or he was new to TTRPGs at that point. He has 5 years on his back after that. And I want to point out that we managed to have a successful campaign after what happened. LootGoblin talks about you should not have an in-game solution for an out-of-game issue. I guess. However, what this was basically you're doing something bad in game and then you have consequences in game for it. I don't necessarily understand where the issue would be in that. We were talking to my friend constantly for, interjecting and interrupting people. That is an outside game issue. His character threatening to murder NPCs left and right for no other reason. That's an in-game issue. He even stated himself that is what my character would do. I digress though. I did wrong by dragging it out in a long fight. That being said also, sometimes things cannot be solved as easily as good roleplay. Sometimes there are consequences for your actions, and sometimes there is no solution but to actually live with what you've done. In the scenario of my friend's character being damned, many people did not necessarily agree with my stance here, saying that there should have been a way for him, to get out of this curse or whatnot. But no, I stood my ground, and what we got instead was this beautiful because in your defense, I did not post the ending of the campaign because it spanned on for 3 more years after that post. But in the end, the character, the elf, he did everything in his power to do good. And it was not doing good for the sake of, I want to be rid of this curse. No, he realized I fucked up. And you know what? I don't want to be remembered as this maniacal asshole that goes around threatening random people, burning down forests, creating orphans left and right, destroying alliances, stealing from my teammates, fighting my teammates. I don't want to be remembered like that. And so he just did a 180 turn, and it was beautiful because at the end, the final year of the campaign, basically what happened is that his character, they were fighting, I can't recall what they were fighting. I think it was like a succubi. Can't recall. Either way, they die. And we have sort of like this homebrew rule that you're allowed to make a last stand, either do an action or say something really cool so to be remembered by. But the only thing he did was that he said, and I quote, I look to my teammates and see if they are okay, if they are unharmed, if they will be able to get out of this situation. And that was just so cool. And we had the fight, as we did, and then at the end, death claimed him, and he was taken to the boneyard where Pharasma is. And at the end of the day, you know, it's Pharasma who decides where your soul goes. It's not death. And when his soul was put on the scales and weighed, he was then sent to his deity's realm, where Erastil lies. So the player did not know that I had that in mind. None of the players knew. And basically, he did not become a good character for the sake of not being damned eternally. He became a good character because I fucked up. I want to do better. And that's fine. Now, this is something that none of you guys could have possibly known, and that's fine. There were some more points in the video that, you know, I question your reasoning, because, like I said once again, you cannot solve an out-of-game issue with an in-game solution. I understand that, but this was an in-game solution. This was his character being a difficult character. And then you have also... You didn't enjoy me bringing up the Infernal Contract, which is found in the Lost Omens book, if I recall correctly. Damning his soul with the Infernal Party and all that, and you thought that was silly, and you could have just said, I am the GM, this is what it is. That's basically how I understood your video. You can correct me if I'm wrong, but the thing is that I'm a GM that likes to have physical things. I like to have things that people can sort of like look to. Okay, there is an Infernal Contract related to this. And it's not like I was citing the entire Infernal Contract in front of all the players. The player had the contract in his hand if need be. This was an in-person role-playing game. And everyone who kept on saying that I should have just kicked out my friend from the group because he's interrupting people, and LootGoblin stating that if my friend weren't able to handle that criticism and ended our friendship because I told him I don't want to roleplay with you anymore. Like, first off, I am terribly sorry, but you don't know my friends. I do. You do not know me. I do. We have known each other for way over 20 years. We're in our mid-30s. And... for you to come in there and sort of like tell me what to do with my players and then assume how my players would react and how I should react if my players react in the way that you're assuming, I find that to be a bit narcissistic. My friend was able to take the criticism. We've spoken with him several times. It's not like he gets angry when he gets criticism aimed towards him. He's not a child. Neither am I. And I don't necessarily agree with your whole approach on that point. I don't think that you should just kick someone out if you and a group of friends sit down and play games. Because look, we're all adults. Most of us have families, kids. Everyone has a job. We don't see each other as much as we did in our preteens or in our teens. And basically... the way that we started role-playing was that we needed an excuse for all of our friends, the entire friend group, to meet up once a month at my place and roll die and have fun and drink wine and beer or soda if need be, or nothing at all, and just have fun together. That was the gist of it. Of course, I snapped at my player. I don't think I acted... in a very mature way. I will agree on that. I dragged out the entire session because I threw a tantrum 5 years ago. I agree. I am not going to defend that. I will say, though, that I made something in game. I made something happen in game. I made the players interact with my anger, I guess. And there were some things they could do. And LootGoblin says that, you know, when the monk pleads for the elf soul and so on, and Death is like, no, I will not have that, then it's me punishing the monk for good roleplay. No, sometimes things just can't happen. Sometimes consequences happen. And you were not there. You did not see the facial expressions. You did not see how we interacted with each other. And you were just making wild assumptions about our entire group. For what? And mind you, most of these criticisms that you aim towards me are answered in the comment section of that Reddit thread. Several times, actually. And I don't necessarily understand. Look, you were able to go back to a 4 or 5 year old Reddit post, but you couldn't even bother reading any sort of follow-up, looking into the no analysis of the source that you're citing, nothing like that. So I don't necessarily understand what is going on, but I mean, more power to you. And if anybody is watching this, I will say this. Do not only listen to these online DMs or GMs telling you what is right and what is wrong. At the end of the day, you know exactly what it is that your players want. At the end of the day, you're just rolling die. You're having fun. These people who are telling you 10 ways to notice that you're a bad GM, 10 ways to notice that you're a bad player, don't listen to these people. I think for a fact that nobody knows you better than you. And you know exactly what kind of people you don't like and what kind of people you do like. And I think you should strive to be more like the people you like rather than the people you dislike. That'll be all.